The following presentation is best experienced with headphones.
Hello, honored guests. If you will follow me, we will begin heading to the observatory. I am so sorry for the argument that you had to witness last week. Still, we are all so excited in the house. It has been ages since we've seen our old friends here. I was delighted that I was able to catch up with Elias and hear all about his journey through the Fey realms. I can't wait to hear what other stories the others have returned with after their adventures, but there will be time for that later. For now, we have arrived. I leave you with the circle.
Greetings, honored guests. We are delighted to see you again.
And don't worry, we have resolved a matter that came up when we last met.
Resolved is a strong word.
More like put it on hold.
I am still very curious to see what the Grand Master
Sorry
thinks
I'm
about.
late. I haven't missed the story, have I? Oh. Are these the returning circle members you were telling me about, Morgana?
You! What are you doing here?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. Have you met before?
Lady Morgana, why have you allowed him entry into this sanctuary? The House of Branching Paths has very few restrictions on who may pass through its doors. Do you have some quarrel with the traveler?
Do you know who I am?
I must seek out the Grand Master immediately. I am sorry, honored guests, and fellow circle members. I must go.
Wait, do you know who I am?
Well, that was eventful.
Yes, it seems that at least a part of the traveler's past has finally caught up with him.
So, that was the traveler. The other one who has spoken for the flames without a seal.
Now let's not start all of that up again now.
You are right, Lady Morgana. We will honor our agreement and wait until Grandmaster Emers's return.
That is good because the flames have been trying to catch our attention for some time.
Ah yes, I do believe I see the crackle of a story on those flames.
The fire burns bright, with stories ever knowing.
The Scaldric Flame seems to be welcoming us home with the story, Elias.
Yes, one of the greatest stories in all of storytelling tradition.
First written down sometime in the 8th century BC.
But it was already old before that.
Told for years by the bards and Homeridae of ancient Greece.
It is well known, however, that the first teller of this tale was none other than the epic poet and circle member Homer.
We are speaking, of course, of the second of two epics attributed to him.
The Odyssey.
Odysseus and his crew had washed up on the shore of Scheria after surviving a mighty sea storm.
The mighty Odysseus had been brought into the court of King Alcinous, who asked,
Odysseus, my court finds you washed up upon the shore. However did you land near us, the Phaeacians?
Odysseus replied,
Poseidon has banked us once more, but this isn't the first.
You were in the war, yes?
I was, and my crew and I have set sail since then and encountered many things.
Could we hear of your travels?
Of course, but I must start near the beginning.
Please do.
And so Odysseus began.
As you know, I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, well known to all for my deceptive skills. My fame stretches all the way to heaven. I live in Ithaca, a land of sunshine.
A beautiful land indeed.
And in my view, nothing one can see is ever sweeter than a glimpse of one's own homeland. When Calypso tried to keep me with her in her hollow cave, longing for me to become her husband, or when, in the same way, the witch Circe held me in her home filled with a keen desire I'd marry her, they never won the heart here in my chest.
Ah, that's how true it is. There's nothing sweeter than one's own country and his parents.
But come, I will describe the miserable journey back which Zeus arranged for me when I returned from war.
Odysseus started with Ismarus, where he and his crew had landed first.
I destroyed the city there and captured lots of treasure, which we divided up. I took great pains to see that each man got an equal share. Then I gave orders we should leave on foot, and with all speed. But the men were foolish. They did not listen.
Odysseus remembered that his crew had drank too much wine, and on the shoreline slaughtered many sheep.
The people of Ismarus set off and gathered up their neighbors and followed Odysseus' ships.
We fought, and at the end of my companions, 6 from every ship were killed. The rest made our escape, avoiding death and fate.
Odysseus and his crew then sailed away from there, but were quickly caught up in another frightful storm at sea.
I'd have reached my homeland unharmed, but
North wind, sea currents, and restless waves
pushed me off course. 9 days fierce winds drove me away from there, and on the 10th we landed where there lived
The Lotus Eaters.
Let's take that one more time and whisper it. 1, 2, 3.
The Lotus Eaters. What are the Lotus Eaters?
They are people who feed upon its flowering fruit. I spoke to these Lotus Eaters to learn more about them. They had said, after I inquired about their intentions toward us.
Now we need to get
Now we
Kimmy
need Kimmy
and
and
Jamie.
Jamie in.
And,
Switch with Jamie.
well, or Justin could probably. I think.
I can get out for a minute. I'm further down.
That's true. Somebody will do it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, big font. Oh, that's a big mic.
Thanks, Pop. Oh, you're so tall.
Yes. Can you hear me?
You can adjust them down if you need to.
I only have a couple lines.
Yeah,
I
me
don't-
too. Honestly. But I can't see. Okay.
Yeah, make sure you can see. It's not
Yeah.
hard to adjust them up and down, so.
Did you have, how do you want them to sound?
How?
Yeah.
The Lotus Eaters, like, do you want them to be more like creatures?
Yeah,
or-
creature-like or.
I mean,
They're always kind of described as like they're people,
Yeah.
but not quite.
Yeah.
So like
Fairies of some
yeah,
sort,
like they're kind of that
maybe?
fae-esque creature of like they give you the uncanny valley feelings. So like they're gonna talk. I think Pleasantville, I guess, like the where you
I haven't
have
seen that.
Sorry. Or
Like-
Stepford Wives.
Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
like where
Like
it's
with almost no
Almost-
inflection or
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, where
almost
it's-
robotic.
Yeah, it's almost robotic, but it's robotic in that very happy kind of
Ah,
way. It's
okay.
very like,
I'm a housewife
oh,
and I
yes.
love it.
Kimmy,
Yes.
I'm so happy to see you today.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
so
It's
happy to see
so
you.
pleasant.
So, just as an example, we have no thought of killing you or your companions.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, yes,
Okay.
I like that. I like that. Okay.
Stepford wife. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So for me, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. We have no thought of killing you or your companions.
Of course not. But we do have gifts.
Please, eat upon the lotus with us.
I have never before. I'm not sure I should.
Oh, you should. After I tried it for the first time, I never wanted to leave.
Why would you? This is our new home.
I then learned that the lotus, whose fruit sweet as honey made any man who tried it lose his desire to ever journey home or bring back word to us.
Did anyone eat of it?
Unfortunately, 2 of my crew were persuaded, and after all they could say was,
Please, we wish to stay, to linger among the Lotus Eaters. We must forget about the homeward voyage.
I issued orders for my other crew to embark and sail away with speed in our fast ships in case another man might eat a lotus and lose all thoughts about his journey back.
And so, Odysseus and his crew sailed away from there with heavy hearts and reached the country
of the Cyclops.
The Cyclops are a crude and lawless people.
They don't grow any plants by hand, but put their trust in the immortal gods. And though they never sow or work the land, still every kind of crop springs up for them.
Zeus provides the rain to make them grow,
They live without a council
or assembly,
or any rule of law in hollow caves among the mountain tops.
Odysseus continued.
Some god guided us through the murky night. We could not see a thing, and all our ships were swallowed up in fog.
But the crew still heard the Cyclops' voices and sounds of sheep and goats.
The crew followed these sounds, and banked along the shore they found. As soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, Odysseus called a meeting of his crew and spoke to them.
My loyal friends, stay here where you are. I'll take my ship in my own company and try to find out who those people are, and learn if they are rough and violent, with no sense of law, or kind to strangers, with hearts that fear the gods.
And so they did. Odysseus and 12 of his crew set out. As they made the short trip round the island, they saw a high cave. There were many flocks, sheep as well as goats penned there.
At night, a giant Cyclops slept there, a brute that grazed his flocks all by himself, somewhere far off.
He avoided others and lived alone, away from all the rest, a law unto himself.
A monster.
I told my trustworthy crew that we needed to explore that cave. So, we disembarked and headed there on foot. I took with me a goat skin full of dark, sweet wine, a gift from Apollo.
Ah, the sweet wine.
Each time they drank that honey-sweet red wine, Odysseus would fill 1 cup with it and pour that out in 20 cups of water, and the smell arising from the mixing bowl was sweet.
Astonishingly so. To tell the truth, no one's heart could refuse to drink it.
So was the gift from the god Apollo to Odysseus.
We reached the Cyclops' cave, but didn't find him.
For the Cyclops was pasturing his rich flocks in the fields.
The crew went inside the cave and looked around. It was incredible. Crates full of cheese, pens crammed with livestock.
At first, the crew urged Odysseus.
Please, grab some cheeses and let's return.
Yes, then let's drive the lambs and kids out of their pens, back to our swift ship, and cross the water.
No, we must not.
Later, when Odysseus thought of this answer, had he agreed then?
Things would have turned out better.
I was keen to see the man in person and find out if he would show me hospitality. So, we lit a fire. Then we helped ourselves to cheese and ate it, staying inside the cave and waiting there until he led his flocks back home.
Finally, the Cyclops returned.
He came with an enormous pile of dried-out wood to prepare his dinner.
He hurled his load inside the cave with a huge crash.
In our fear, we moved to the remote end of the cave into the deepest corner.
Then, the Cyclops raised up high a massive boulder and fixed it in position as a door.
It was huge. 22 4-wheeled wagons, even good ones, could not have shifted it along the ground. That's how immense it was. The rock he set in place to seal his cave.
When he had finished working at these tasks, he lit a fire. Then he noticed them and said,
Strangers, who are you men? What sea route brought you here? Are you traders? Or wandering the sea at random, like pirates sailing anywhere, risking their lives to injure other men?
As he spoke, the crew's hearts collapsed, terrified by his deep voice and monstrous size. But still, Odysseus answered him and said,
We are Achaeans, returning home from Troy, and blown off course by different winds across vast tracts of sea. Attempting to get home, we had to take an alternate route, chart another course. We're visitors here, and we have hope that you will welcome us or give some gift, the usual things one does for strangers. And so, good sir, respect the gods. We're here as suppliants to you, and Zeus protects all suppliants and strangers. As god of guests, he cares for all respected visitors.
The Cyclops answered at once. His heart was pitiless.
What fools you strangers are, or else you come from some land far away, telling me to fear the gods, to shun their rage. I care nothing about Zeus. We are much more powerful than they are. But now, tell me this. When you landed here, where did you moor your ship? A spot close by or further off? I'd like to find that out.
He said this to throw Odysseus off, but his deceit could never fool him.
Odysseus was too clever, and so he gave the Cyclops a misleading answer.
Earthshaker Poseidon broke my ship apart, driving it against the border of your land on the rocks there. He brought us close to shore, hard by the headland. Then strong winds pushed our ship towards the beach. But we escaped, me and these men here. We were not destroyed.
But the Cyclops' ruthless heart gave no reply.
Instead, he jumped up, seized 2 of Odysseus's companions in his fist, and smashed them on the ground.
He tore their limbs apart to make a meal and chewed them up just like a mountain lion, leaving nothing.
Once the Cyclops had stuffed his stomach with human flesh and washed it down with milk, he lay down in the cave and stretched out there among his flocks.
In my courageous heart I formed a plan to move up close beside him, draw the sharp sword I carried on my thigh and run my hand along his chest to find exactly where his midriff held his liver, then stick him there. But I had second thoughts.
Odysseus knew they would have been utterly destroyed there in the cave.
For they didn't have the strength with their hands to roll from the high door the massive rock he'd set there.
So we groaned and stayed there waiting for a bright new dawn.
As soon as dawn appeared, the Cyclops made a fire and milked his flock one by one. When this work was over, he once again snatched 2 of Odysseus's men and gorged himself.
After his meal, he easily rolled back the huge rock door and drove his rich flock outside.
He left them in the cave, and Odysseus began plotting a nasty scheme deep in his heart.
An immense club belonging to the Cyclops was lying there beside a stall, made of green olive wood he'd cut to carry with him once it dried.
To human eyes, it seemed just like the mast on a merchant ship with 20 oars, a broad-beamed vessel which can move across the mighty ocean.
That's how long and wide that huge club looked.
Moving over to it, I chopped off a piece about 6 feet in length, gave it to my companions, telling them to smooth the wood. They straightened it, while I, standing at one end, chipped and tapered it to a sharp point.
Odysseus then hid the stake and asked,
"Which of my crew will risk their lives with me?"
For when sweet sleep came to settle on the Cyclops, they would lift that stake and twist it in his eye.
The crew drew lots and picked 4 to be with Odysseus for this plot.
In the evening, he came back, picked up and put his huge rock door in place, then sat to milk each goat one by one.
When this task was finished, he quickly seized 2 men and wolfed them down.
Odysseus moved up and stood beside the Cyclops and offered him a bowl full of the dark red wine Apollo had given him. He said,
"Cyclops, take this wine and drink it now you've had your meal of human flesh, so you may know the kind of wine we had on board our ship, a gift of drink that I was bringing you in hope you'd pity me and send me off on my journey home. But your savagery is something I can't bear. You cruel man. How will any of the countless other men want to visit you in the future? How you act is so against all human law."
He grabbed the cup and gulped down the sweet wine. Once he swallowed it, he felt such great delight, he asked,
Be kind and give me some of that again. And now, without delay, tell me your name so as my guest, I can offer you a gift, something you'll like. Among the Cyclops, grain-bearing earth grows clusters of rich grapes, which Zeus's rain increases. But this drink, it's a stream of nectar and ambrosia.
Odysseus handed him more fiery wine.
3 times I poured some out and gave it to him, and like a fool, he swilled it down.
So then, once that strong wine had addled the Cyclops' wits, Odysseus spoke these reassuring words to him.
"Cyclops, you asked about my famous name. I'll tell you. Then you can offer me a gift as your guest here. My name is Nobody. My father and mother, all my friends, they call me Nobody.
Well, Nobody, I'll eat all your companions before you and have you at the end. My gift to you, since you're my guest.
After saying these words, he collapsed, toppling over on his back, lying with his neck twisted to one side. All-conquering sleep overpowered him.
Once Odysseus waited to be sure of his sleep, he spoke to all his crew.
No one hesitates. We have to achieve this plan if we ever want to return home.
Once they had all taken a piece of the steak, they walked up to the Cyclops.
And then some god breathed powerful courage into all of us.
They lifted up that stake of olive wood and jammed its sharpened end down in his eye.
The Cyclops' horrific cries echoed through the rock. The crew drew back, terrified.
He yanked the stake out of his eye, hurled it away from him, and waved his arms. He screamed,
"Someone help!"
When others heard him shouting out, they came crowding round from all directions. Standing at the cave mouth, they questioned him, asking what was wrong.
Polyphemus, what's so bad with you that you keep howling through the immortal night and waking us up?
Is some mortal human stealing your flocks, or killing you by treachery or force?
From the cave, mighty Polyphemus roared.
Nobody is killing me, my friends. By treachery, not using any force.
They answered him. Their words had wings.
Well then, if nobody is hurting you and you're alone, it must be sickness given by great Zeus, one you can't escape.
So say your prayers to our father, Lord Poseidon.
With these words, they went away.
And my heart was laughing. My cunning name had pulled off such a trick.
But the Cyclops groaned, writhing in agony. But he sat up by the door of the cave, catching any of the crew who tried to flee.
I wove many schemes, all sorts of tricks, the way a man will do when his own life's at stake. To my heart, the best plan was as follows.
In the Cyclops' flocks, the rams were fine, large animals with thick, fleecy coats of wool.
Odysseus picked 3 at a time, and, keeping quiet, tied them together with twisted willow shoots, part of the mat on which the monster Polyphemus slept.
The middle ram carried a single person. The 2 on either side were for protection.
So, for each one of us there were 3 sheep. I, too, had my own ram, the finest one in the whole flock by far. I grabbed its back, then swung myself below its fleecy gut and lay there, face upwards, with my fingers clutching its fleece.
They waited there like that until bright dawn.
As soon as light appeared, the flock trotted off to pasture.
And their master, in great pain, ran his hands across the backs of all his sheep as they moved past him. But was such a fool he failed to notice how many were tied below their fleecy bellies.
Of that flock, my ram was the last to move out through the door, weighed down by its thick wool and my sly thoughts.
Huge Polyphemus, as he stroked its back, spoke to the animal.
My lovely ram, how come you are the last one in the flock to move out of the cave? Not once before have you ever lagged behind the others. You must be sad, grieving for your master's eye, now blinded, thanks to that evil fellow and his crew. That nobody destroyed my wits with wine. But I tell you, I can still destroy him. If only you could feel and speak like me, you tell me where he's hiding from my rage. And then my heart would ease the agonies this worthless nobody has brought on me.
Saying these words, he pushed the ram aside, out through the door.
After the ram had moved a short distance from the cave and courtyard, first Odysseus got out from underneath its gut, and then untied his crew.
We rushed away until we reached our ship.
It was a welcome sight to fellow shipmates. They'd escaped being killed, although they groaned and wept for those who'd died.
When they had rowed as far as a person's voice can carry when they yell, Odysseus shouted out and mocked the mighty Cyclops.
Cyclops! It seems he was no weakling after all, the man whose comrade you so wished to eat, using brute force in that hollow cave of yours. Your evil acts were bound to catch you out, you wretch. You didn't even hesitate to gorge yourself on guests in your own home. Now Zeus and other gods have paid you back.
Odysseus's words increased his rage.
He snapped off a huge chunk of mountain rock and hurled it.
I grabbed a long boat hook and pushed us off, encouraging the crew, and with a nod of my head ordered them to ply their oars and save us from disaster.
But when they'd got some distance out to sea, about twice as far, Odysseus started shouting, taunting the Cyclops.
Although his crew cautioned Odysseus from every side, trying to calm him down, saying,
"That's too reckless. Why attempt to irritate that savage? Just now he threw a huge rock in the sea and pushed us back on the shore."
We really thought he'd killed us there. If he had heard us speak or uttering a sound, he'd have hurled down another jagged stone and crushed our skulls and the timbers on the ship.
His huge arms are strong enough to throw this far.
But Odysseus's warrior spirit did not listen, so anger in his heart he yelled again.
Cyclops! If any mortal human being asks about the injury that blinded you, say your eye was burned out by Odysseus, sacker of cities, son of Laertes, a man from Ithaca.
After he said this, the Cyclops groaned and spoke out in reply.
Alas! Now an ancient prophecy about me has truly been fulfilled. For a seer said all these things would come to pass someday. I'd lose my sight at the hand of someone called Odysseus. But I always expected he'd be large, a noble man with enormous power. But now, a puny, good-for-nothing weakling, after overpowering me with wine, has destroyed my eye. Come here, Odysseus, so I can give you your gift as my guest, and urge the famous shaker of the earth to escort you homeward. I am his son, and he boasts he's my father. If he wishes, he will cure me. No other blessed god can do that, nor can any mortal man.
Odysseus answered him and said,
I wish I were as sure that I could kill you, rob you of your living spirit, and send you down to Hades, as I am confident not even the great shaker of the earth will fix your eye.
After Odysseus said this, the Cyclops stretched out his hands to starry heaven and offered up this prayer to Lord Poseidon.
Hear me, Poseidon. If I truly am your son, and if you are my father as you claim, grant that Odysseus never gets back home. If it's his destiny to see his friends and reach his home and well-built house, may he arrive there late and in distress, after all his comrades have been killed, and in someone else's ship, and may he find misfortunes in his home.
They reached the island where their well-decked ships were gathered.
They got in at once, each in his place and sitting in good order in their rows. They churned the grey sea surface with their oars.
So we moved away from there, sad at heart, happy to have avoided a dark fate, although some dear companions had been killed.
My, Odysseus, what a journey.
And that is only a small part of it.
The end.
A thrilling tale.
And if I am not mistaken, it is one that the flames are not quite done with yet.
I believe you are right. We will likely be visiting with Odysseus and his crew again soon.
Ah, Traveler,
you're back.
Did you catch Ileana?
No, I lost her. She is more adept traveling through the house and jumping through realms than I am. I did run into another friend, though.
Hello, everyone. I'm still working, but I had a delivery that sent me through the house. So I thought I would pop in to say hi. Looks like I missed the story, though.
Well, perhaps you can help me with a poem that I found in my book just this morning.
I would love to, if it's okay with the circle.
So long as it is not being called by the flames, I am not concerned with the reciting of a poem.
Don't let them intimidate the two of you. Emrys and I are in agreement. You are both welcome to speak here.
In that case, show me that poem.
It is here, written by Percy Bysshe Shelley, and published in the 11th January publication of the Examiner of London in 1818.
Ozymandias.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said,
Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert.
In the desert.
Near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies.
It lies there.
Whose frown and wrinkled lip, and sneer of cold command, tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped upon these lifeless things.
These lifeless things.
The hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. On the pedestal these words appear.
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Nothing beside remains. Round the decay
of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare,
the lone and level sands stretch far away. The end. It is troubling to think that such a great work could be washed away by the sands of time.
That is one of the reasons that tradition is so important. It helps us preserve the great deeds of the past.
Not all of the past deserves to be honored or perhaps even remembered, though.
Those are some heavy words.
Yes, and words that we must unfortunately end on today.
Yes, I think I see the crackle of a story on those flames. But for next time.
The fire burns low, with stories ever glowing.
We will see you soon, honored guests.
Honored guests, come follow me, for you mustn't stay at our house for too long. Odysseus and his crew certainly go on many adventures. Maybe one day I'll visit all of those grand places. Stay close behind, my guests, and whatever you do, don't answer any voices you may hear on the way out. Oh, but do come back. Hearing the circle stories brings me to life.
You have been listening to The House of Branching Paths, a theatrical podcast experience brought to you by Round 2 Productions, created by Mark Kilmer and Caroline Miller, with special guest Creighton Markovich as the voice of Odysseus, and featured artists Kimmy Kidd, Bill Blanky, April Sita, Justin Panachia-Shimza, Jamie Chandler, George Dorr, Joshua Towers, and Katie Bailey, with music by Elegy. For even more content, join us on our Patreon, or for more stories like these, be sure to visit your local library. Thank you for joining us, honored guests, and remember, the fire may burn low, but the stories are ever glowing.